Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I'm talking with Nevan, who decided very recently that he would like to come on and tell his story share it with us. So, Nevan, basically, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you.
Sorry I cut you off there, but once I hit the button, I can't stop that shit. So.
Oh, well, no, you're good. Whatever.
But anyway, so basically what I do here is I talk to folks about their journeys away from whatever belief systems they're a part of. So what I generally ask is kind of take us back to when you were in a belief system and how you sort of started noticing all bullshit and finding your way out of that.
Yep. Yeah. So as far back as I can remember, I think my parents started going there and I was like 1 or 2, as long as I can remember. I went to Bethlehem Baptist Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which a lot of people might recognize the name. It is where John Piper was the senior pastor pretty much the entire time I was there. And John Piper's kind of a big name, right? And in Baptist and evangelical circles. As far as my flavor of Christianity and their flavor of Christianity, they just said Baptist. It wasn't Southern Baptist. It wasn't like Northern Baptist. They were a member of the Baptist General Conference, but it's hard for me to like categorize them as similar to like Lutheran or Presbyterian or some other Protestant denomination. Like I honestly don't know a lot of the nuances and differences with them. To be honest, like separate that. I mean, it's all made up anyways, it's all
exactly.
They take the doctrinal differences between them. It comes down to like one sentence and one translation of the Bible, and then they have an entire massive denomination about it. It's ridiculous. So that was my church. I was heavily involved in things outside church, though, and I did go 2 days a week. I did Sunday and Wednesday night church. Wednesday night church was, more fun. Yeah, Wednesday night church was a lot more fun, a lot more loosey-goosey. They had dinner and youth group and stuff. But on top of that, I also went to a private Christian school. They were also just generalized Baptists, which kind of like... considering how different they were from my church, them being both called Baptist is kind of, I still don't really understand it. Like, well, what is a Baptist anyway then? They believe in baptism, like full immersion baptism, to be sure. But I mean, I'm sure other denominations do too. So I don't know. But so I went there for 4 years and they were extremely strict. To the point where they had like a clause or one of their codes of conduct where students could not see movies in movie theaters was like the big thing. Now, like,
what?
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, I like Hollywood was evil or something like that. But I mean, it's not like they enforce it heavily. And like, I knew other students that like had to and whatnot. So, I mean, it wasn't like a huge deal, and my parents were like, yeah, that's stupid, whatever. But I mean, that just shows like what their mentality was, like how strict they were deciding to be. As far as Bethlehem Baptist goes, they were a lot less strict. Like they were still very much like fundamentalist evangelical church. Like they still had all of those doctrines of eternal hell and all that sort of thing. Yeah, right. Where was I with that? Yeah, so on top of that, so there was that. I had the Christian school for 4 years. On top of that, by the way, one of my cats may invade the camera at some point. We'll see. One of them teasing it. So
that's okay. They like the floofs up there. So okay.
On top of that, outside of both church and that school, a major part of my upbringing was my mom and dad immersing me into young earth creationism outside of church and school. The full 6 days, 6,000-year-old earth, like the full thing, right? Like I saw Kent Hovind live, I think twice. I only like distinctly remember once, but I'm pretty sure it was twice, when he was touring and came up to Minnesota, before he got arrested and thrown straight the fuck into prison for tax evasion, and then, yeah, so there was that. We also went on dinosaur digs, like creationist dinosaur digs, because we weren't the dinosaurs aren't real creationists. We were the dinosaurs help prove the creation and the flood creationists. So we went on, right. So we went on, growing up, I think at least half a dozen dinosaur digs growing up with, run by a guy who was, a nice guy. He was a nice guy, but he was basically just a Kent Hovind parrot and just stole straight from his PowerPoints and whatnot. So yeah, that was my upbringing, a lot of that. And I believed all of it. I did. And we'll get more into that, but it was what I thought was true because it's what was told to me, as far as what's up?
You believed it because it was told to you, and you thought it was true.
So it was all that was told to me, right? Like I didn't have like the only inklings I had of the other side were what they told me people said. I hadn't actually like gone and looked for myself at this point. I was still teenager and younger at this point, and I had no reason to think it wasn't true. Like it was just my life. It was the church, and we did this
coming
thing,
from people you trust, I imagine, right?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't like all of them, but it made sense at the time, anyways. And as far as when I first felt like I might start doubting things, it may go back to when I was on the younger side. But I can't name like a specific event. It was more like someone.
What was it? Oh, I can hear me now.
No, I can't really name a specific event. It was more a kind of thing where someone would say like, this thing about God, and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. I guess I don't feel that strongly about it. And I remember one guy was like, so who is God to you? And I was just like, I don't know, big man in the sky, blah, blah, blah. And I was, like 11 or 12. And then he went into this whole thing about how, no, God is this, blah, blah, blah. You need to blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yes, that sounds true. Yeah. But I mean, I believed it, but I just, that may be the first time I can pinpoint being like, maybe I don't believe this as much as some people do. I don't know, like it. But I can't stress enough though that I did because of it was two main things. Number one, the fear of hell, which I clung on to for a while, even after becoming an atheist, just because, it was ingrained in me, and that's the kind of damage that religion can do to you. And second, it was because of the young earth creationism. Like, I mean, if the evidence seems to point that way, and that's how it seems to be, then, I mean, obviously God exists, right? Like there's that's it. That does it right there. That's all the evidence I needed.
Well, you got to think that the evidence they're proposing to you is not actual evidence.
Well, but it seemed like it. No, like that's the thing. If you're raised in this, what they tell you is very convincing. Like it, and because it's designed to be. Like it's not convincing on its own. Like Ken Hovind he's a charismatic guy. Like I have to say that he knows how to talk. He knows how to put together PowerPoint presentations. Like he does. He's very good at it. But so when it really kind of started to fall apart. Is and a lot of, I'm sure a lot of stuff kind of happened down the road to kind of push it along, but I don't know, I haven't really parsed a lot of that out myself. What really got it going is when I started going to public community college, which my parents had no problem with. It wasn't like they wanted to like cut me off from the world or anything. So I started going there, and it wasn't so much that I like took science classes or like learned the facts about biology or whatever. Because I had also learned about biology in like high school, like the evolutionary side. But at that point, it was so ingrained to me that I was wrong. And I just like had all sorts of arguments in my mind of like, okay, here's why what they're saying isn't true, blah, blah, blah. I knew that they would be doing this. It's public school. I know all this. So I just kind of like put that in the back of my mind or like hand waved it all away. Right. So it's like, it's not like I didn't know that stuff. But when I went to college, it wasn't so much that I took more science classes. It's that I saw that as an opportunity to finally learn about the world outside of my bubble. Because I was kind of on my own. Like I could stay away from home. It's not like I was super sheltered, but it was a situation where I could stay away from home for hours at a time, maybe into the evening, and like look into stuff and watch old timey YouTube, now considered old timey YouTube videos and YouTube scientists and atheists, and really figure out and really learn about the different side to it all. So slowly, it started to peel away, and I'm like, hey, hang on, like I've been giving the wrong information my entire life. Like none of this is true. This is I kept researching, kept looking into it. I watched, so I learned what evolution actually is. And I learned why creationists' arguments don't hold water. I looked up videos debunking Ken Hovind and all these other people I used to be raised on.
Well, I'm going to give you a little. Oh, geez, now I can hear myself pretty good in the background there. Yeah. Never use YouTube as a source really for anything, unless it's from like a college or something like that, like college put out video sort of thing. Or yeah, see, now I can hear myself for sure. So,
oh, geez,
you don't have headphones, eh?
I do. Let me see if I can use them.
Sure. Are they Bluetooth or are they plug-in types?
They're plug-in.
Okay.
All right.
This would be much better. That way you're not hearing my voice again. Right?
Yeah. All right, let's see if this works. These are my wife's headphones. I don't actually, so I don't really know these ones very well.
Well, they probably work as headphones.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Yeah, we're good then. All right. So where was I? Yeah, YouTube. Right. So yeah, I mean, it was more just a way for me to be able to learn that there is different information out there. Right. Like it's, my views and my worldview and what I believe has strayed very far from what I was initially learning in those days. Like it was more a catalyst to learn that there was different information out there, because that I hadn't been told it. All I had been told is that evolution is wrong for various reasons. The earth is young for various reasons. The flood happened for various reasons. And again, very compelling reasons. Like they went through the geology, they went through the fossils, they went through this and that to be like, it all fits perfectly with a literal interpretation of Genesis. And that's all I knew. So I finally had learned that there was different information out there. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So there is at the same time, to a lesser but still existent extent, it was also atheists being like, here's things about God, here's things about Christianity, this, that, and the other. And so that was kind of happening at the same time. So eventually I can't point to like one specific time, but there was a point at some time, and I guess I more like realized it than it actually happened, that I'm like, is God even necessary anymore? And like, this is going to sound really strange. And I thought about it earlier and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, right? But it's just one of those things as you're going through and processing and deconstructing what you believe, that I was like a young earth creationist and an atheist for like a month or something, maybe like a few weeks, which right, like
merge both of them.
right, like in retrospect, that makes no sense. But it was more, I don't know, it was some kind of like brain shock. It was some kind of like paradigm shock of being like, these things are, but they have to both be true. And it was weird. I met people in college, because you do, hung out with people, and I before this had tried to like play devil's advocate, so to speak, about thinking evolution was true and talking to them about it to see what their responses were against creationism and blah blah blah, even though at the time I was still a creationist. But eventually at some point it just kind of flipped in my brain and I'm like, well, the evidence for evolution is just overwhelming. And at that point it was like, well, why does God necessary anymore? That's really what it comes down to, is why was God necessary?
Right.
So that happened. I carried on with school. I kept it a secret from my parents for a while. And I'd still went to church for a little bit, because I was still under 18 at the time. I think I was 16 or 17. So just because, I was still living there, they'd know if I went or not, that kind of thing. Eventually got to the point, especially on Sundays, I finally got my own car. And instead of going to church, I would like drive and sit at the lake by my house.
Cool.
I would do that for a couple hours. Because at that point they were keeping less tabs on me. I had my car. I was like driving myself to church, whatnot. Like that was fine. So I just drove to a lake and sat there. And then when the time was right, I would just come home. And I did that for like a few months at least. I don't think close to a year, but at least a few months. Eventually, though, it was after Wednesday night church. I don't remember if I went or not that night, because Wednesday night was still kind of fun here and there because it was my friends and whatnot. But they came home one Wednesday night, and I had been thinking for a while, I need to tell them this is not sustainable with me living with them. It's going to come out eventually. The cracks are starting to kind of form in like them knowing about my life and whatnot. So I eventually told them after Wednesday night church, and to their credit, they were surprisingly okay with it. And I wanted to put that in because I understand, and it sucks that a lot of people have horrible coming out stories, so to speak, or literally, I suppose, with their parents. Like, I know it's awful. Like, that's what I was worried about. I really was. I didn't think that they would be that way necessarily. I more probably thought that they would be more okay with it, but it's one of those things where I couldn't be sure, right? And I was just about at that age where they could have like kicked me out if they wanted to, like if it came to that. But again, I didn't think they would, but it was still a concern. So to their credit, they took it extremely well, like amazingly well.
Do you think? Oh, geez, I can hear myself still for some reason.
Oh, geez.
Maybe. Oh, you know why? I think it's because you're now coming through the microphone on your headphones.
Am I? I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when you touch it, it gets all crackly.
Okay.
So go into the settings and switch it over to the your microphone, and that way it might clear up some of these issues.
How about now?
That's better.
Okay, cool.
A lot better. Excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, sorry. What were you saying?
Do you think maybe that your folks could possibly be on the fence a little bit themselves, and maybe that's why they took it a little bit better than you thought?
So I thought that for a bit. I can say nowadays that is most certainly not the case. Maybe possibly if it was between the two, it would be with my dad, but even then I don't think so. My
Right.
mom actually converted to Catholicism
Oh,
from
wow.
being Baptist, right, which is super weird. Like she is full on into the Catholic Church now. So that's interesting. But no, I thought that for a little bit, and I thought maybe they weren't going as hard with the creationism with my two younger sisters who were now about the age I was when this happened.
Mhm.
And I thought, again, they came up through public school, and I haven't really seen them be that on top of them with the hyper religious conspiracy theories and stuff. But that all kind of changed last month when they took them on a trip to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. So that was the point where I'm like, no, they are still definitely in this, and they're dragging my sisters with them too.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Have you talked to your sisters about this?
I've kind of tried to. They're not very talkative. Like they're fine, but when I've brought it up before. I've told my sister I'm an atheist, and she seemed more like she didn't care. She just seemed more like confused. Like, huh? Like you don't believe this thing? That's super weird. Like I haven't talked to her since then. I don't know if she's been able to process it any more than that. I'm kind of waiting until they're 18 just to avoid any potential issues with my parents. Which again may not
Sure. Makes sense.
which again may not exist, but I'm just trying to be careful that once they turn 18 though, I'm gonna sit them down and be like, listen, I need to tell you some
There's some
things.
things you need to know.
I.e. basically everything, and you were told everything incorrectly. So yeah, that's kind of the short story. I'm sure I could go back and parse out some other things here and there. Like the big thing is that the younger creationism was the big sticking point and the big foundation of my faith, so to speak. That is what held me in place, and that's really what kept me believing as long as I did. Is just because I was given wrong information my entire life.
Which of all the stuff in the Bible that you were a believer of at one time, what was it about it that convinced you?
Um,
It's a tough question to actually swallow because there's a lot to unpack with a question like that. So I would
it
say try to think
is.
of
It's
something specific, maybe.
um. So, but well, so I think the main answer would be the supposed evidence of the Genesis account. But I guess
Hmm.
there is another. I guess there is another answer actually. When I was going to my private Christian school, they had like every other year or whatever they went to like a camp, like a retreat for a week or something like that. So it was like school camp basically, and they
Camping's
had.
awesome.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was, cabins, but it was fun games and stuff like that. It was generally a decent time. But they brought in an evangelist of sorts outside of their church, actually, which for them by itself is crazy, but he's pretty much in line with their beliefs, so it didn't really matter. And he basically put the fear of hell into us like every single night that he
Really?
talked. Yeah, like it got to the point where after the service or whatever you want to call it one night, like a lot of people were like in tears and like crying the rest of the night just because of how much of the fear of hell he had put into people. His name is Mike Pelletier, by the way. You can go look him up. I
That
honestly, I don't
sounds.
know.
I don't know why, but that sounds really familiar.
I actually have no idea if he's still active. I haven't really looked him up in a while. I'm sure he's still doing whatever he's doing.
Hmm.
But that kind of struck me too. I didn't like break down crying like a lot of people did, but it hit me though, and I'm like, wow, like if I die, I might go to hell, and
No.
yeah, or I probably will, or like how do I know I'm saved? Because that's a whole big thing. Is
Well, I tell
they
you what. I've said this many times before, but a lot of creationists, creationist evangelicals, etc. They always say that scientists who don't believe in God are going to be in hell too. And if they're scientists in hell, you know damn well they've already got air conditioning down there. They're scientists.
Yeah, they're probably having better conversations than what the people just like praising God all day, every day are doing up in heaven, like they're actually talking about stuff.
And the other thing is don't forget, if you're dead and you go to heaven, what part of you goes to heaven? Like, what would someone say to you? Like, what part of you actually goes down there?
That was never really answered, but that really brings up the question of like, what about babies that die?
Yeah, but is it your soul, because you don't have nerve endings and you don't have a brain to relay messages of pain?
It's your soul.
It can't hurt.
Okay, sure, yeah. Oh, down to hell, yeah. I don't know, like
no nerve endings.
Well, it's God magic, right? Like you just hand away from whatever. Yeah, like it's just God magic. He can make your soul feel pain, obviously. Okay, can I just say
actually how it works?
Well, can I just say actually that this is something I realize about myself a lot, is that I can regress back into those fundamentalist beliefs quite easily. I can, like, some of the stuff I've like seen you say before, I like think I put on my Jesus hat and I'm like, well, if I was a Christian, I would just respond with this. So blah, blah, blah. And I can still do that quite easily. I can still be like, well, no, because it would be like this. It'd be this certain way. The Bible would say this about that. And like, I can still do that. And on the one hand, it bothers me that I can do that. But on the other hand, I feel like it makes me a more centered and rational person sometimes too. I don't know.
When you put your Jesus hat on?
The fact that I can so easily, the fact that I can regress back into that mindset so easily. But yeah, I don't know.
That's a good way to have arguments with yourself, right?
It's true. Yeah, it's a good way to deconstruct what you're thinking and strengthen your epistemology and that kind of thing. I would agree.
It's called steel manning.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's steel manning, past Nevan, basically.
Yeah. It's a skill that can be very useful before you start to talk to somebody about, either through epistemology or however.
Yeah.
It's a very useful skill.
Yeah, and it helps you undercut the conversation. Like it helps you, instead of getting into useless conversations that aren't going to get anywhere.
You mean like with Garth Dawkins?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit, it's him.
Instead of getting to those discussions, you can undercut them by getting to the core of the situation, getting to the core of your differences and your core beliefs, and being like, okay, but this is what we're really driving at. We can hand wave all that away. You don't believe that, I don't believe that, but we can get into the meat of it this way. And I feel like being able to steelman your opponent's argument beforehand helps you out with that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It does. It's great to practice, because sometimes it's not easy to do, because your brain, when you develop that, you've critical thinking and you got the rational brain thing going on. It's hard to steelman a position sometimes, because your brain just goes, no, fuck no. So,
I totally see what you're saying, and I guess for me that doesn't happen as much. So for whatever that means, I don't know. But yeah, I'm that's like the main part of it. That's the kind of the broad thing. Did anything not make sense, or did you want me to like kind of expand on anything?
Well, we haven't even done a half an hour yet, man.
Oh, I know. Like, I'm sure there's plenty more I could talk about. I just kind of wanted to get the kind of broad thing out there.
Sure. Let's try. Well, first of all, let's move away from the deconversion for a bit.
Sure.
Oh crap! Pasta Mike's in the chat. Careful, guys. He's got that sexy radio voice. He might try to hypnotize you or persuade you into doing something you don't want to do. People, careful. But anyway, tell me a little bit about your blog, your website,
Yeah,
which I have linked below too, by the way.
thank you. Yeah,
and
I saw
also
that.
your Twitter and Facebook. So
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks. Yeah, I haven't written on it in a long time. It started out, I wanted to kind of do like a day by day of my trip to Europe I did a few years ago. Then I want to get into fiction writing at some point, but I haven't really done anything yet. But I paid for it. I paid for the website for another year, and I probably will the next year after. So I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, you all can go check it out. I haven't done anything in a while. Maybe I'll talk about atheism. Maybe I'll talk about other things.
you could leave that one for your fiction stuff, and you can start another blog for atheism related stuff if you want.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Probably best to keep them separate, actually, in my opinion.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I have to start brainstorming names and whatnot. Yeah.
Then you can be all over the internet.
It's kind of starting to feel like that's the direction I might be going, to be honest. Like sometimes it feels that way. So we'll have to see. Kind of got to work on my.
What about YouTube? You ever thought of doing a YouTube channel?
Kind of. I'd have to, I'd have to write scripts and work on equipment. Not the main problem with YouTube is I'd want to figure out something to do that nobody, or at least not a lot of other people, are doing. Like I don't know anyone else that does like mainly deconversion type stuff like you do. Like I haven't seen any. Sure, but yeah, I'd want to like
cool with me.
Probably not. No, I believe that.
No,
I'd have to find my niche though, like that'd be the issue there. Just trying to think about and what else I could be talking about.
Well, here an idea for you. You were saying that whoopsie daisy. No, I don't want to do that. Thank you. You were saying that I hit it when I accidentally touched the little pad here. And the little arrow was hovering over something stupid. But you were saying earlier that you when you spoke to your family about this, and I actually do want to touch back on that when we come back to the conversation there. Why not talk about what it's like to talk to family members about coming out of a belief system?
Mm-hmm.
You could have people on that give you
sure.
stories about how they related all of this to their folks. Not necessarily a deconversion story, but how they dealt with dealing with family after deconverting and how that affected their life and stuff like that.
I actually really like that. Because there's so many different directions you can go with that. You can have parents that kick you out before you're 18. You can have the parents that don't talk to you ever again, then kick you out when you are 18. You could have parents who are like, oh yeah, we have been two for like 10 years. You could have,
and you never knew.
Right, exactly. And then you could have the parents that are surprisingly okay with it, but it doesn't really shake the foundation of their beliefs at all for some reason. Like that's something else I've been thinking of, right? Is I talked to my mom again recently about it, and I'm like, I like that you guys were so cool about it when I came out as an atheist, right? But I mean, why haven't you really talked to me about it much since then? And my mom was just kind of like, well, it's who you are. Like it's not worth beating you over the head about it, I guess. It's just it's who you are, and it's who you're gonna be, I guess. I don't know if they thought maybe I was going through a phase and they eventually realized I wasn't. I don't know, but they don't really mention it ever, which is kind of weird to me. Because if you think that you have the ultimate truth in life, if you think that you've figured it out, this is what's true, God is real, hell is real, especially with hell being real, right? And eternal hell being real. If you believe in that, why are you not trying to beat me over the head with that every chance you get? Like, I think my parents care about me, but I mean, the question becomes like,
That's
do you even care about me? Do you care that I'm going to hell forever then? Like,
what I was going to say. You think that they
yeah,
would that they'd be like, but you're going to burn in hell.
yeah. So which is why which is why I totally understand missionaries and mission churches. And my church growing up was a huge missionary church. Like that was a big part of
Do they
their
teach the missionary position? Never mind.
No, they did not.
No,
Uh,
kids, watch this movie. Damn it! I forgot to renew my membership to Pornhub.
oh no, click away. Nope. Back to the hymn. Yes, okay.
To him.
So,
And
where
we
was
shall do missionary position.
so that's why I understand missionaries and why when people are like, well, religion shouldn't beat you over the head with what they believe, right? Like, leave me alone. You believe what you believe. But
Yeah.
then I'm thinking like,
They can't help
well, like if they think that other people are going to hell forever and they care about other people, then they're going to do what they want to make sure other people don't go to hell forever. Like that just makes sense to me. Like, so you can tell someone to not talk about it to you if you want, like obviously, but I think, in my opinion, what I do is I try to be ready in case someone does do that, so I can respond to them. Otherwise, they're not going to leave people alone about it.
So, if you can't think of anything to respond with, do you have like a slingshot on hand? Get out!
It doesn't really happen in the wild. Okay, actually, very strangely, at work over the past month or two, I've had people come in and just ask if they can pray for me, and I thought that was weird because it hasn't happened in a while. But I actually wear a pride button on my apron at work. So then someone was like, "Hey, it's maybe because of that." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. That makes sense." But they were like, "Hey, can we pray for you?" And I was just like, "No, thanks."
Well, you can, but you'll be wasting your time.
Yeah, right. Well, so the one
I'll pray for you. I'll go home and talk to my cat for you. See if
right,
same
exactly.
result.
I talking to myself all the time. But yeah, so the one guy, when I said no, he was just like, "What? What? I can't pray for, what are you talking about?" And the other person was just like, "Oh, okay," and just carried on. So I guess it has kind of happened, but no, it's definitely much more in the Twitterverse that I engage with people, so to speak, which is
That's weird.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, right. No, people do not argue on Twitter. I certainly don't. I never have, not once in my life.
No, never.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand where people are coming from by saying that religion shouldn't like try to force their beliefs on you, but I get it. Like, and I think a lot of it may be in kind of the missions aspect of the church I grew up in. Is I understand wanting to guide people toward what you believe is the ultimate truth about reality. Like, I guess that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I've heard believers say, something very similar to that. They just want to know what comports to reality, and in their minds, though, the stuff that they believe seems to.
Yes.
Right? Because they've been convinced by others their entire life that this stuff is part of reality. So it's tough to break away from that.
Yeah, and I think that is and I grew up on that very much so. I actually remember my mom when I was homeschooled for until I was like I think third or fourth grade, and my mom's not a bad teacher honestly, and I remember very early we had a book on logic and just like trains of logic, and I think they actually had like logical fallacies in there and whatnot. So I was trained in that mindset, which is so being trained in the logical mindset of wanting to match reality as closely as possible and only being taught the young earth creationist side of things and being given wrong information about how evolution is false was kind of a jab and punch into me clinging on to young earth creationism until I was 16, 17 years old. And it carried through with that, because when I eventually lost my grips on being younger creationists, I've heard that some atheists go through a phase of getting into, other religions, looking at like Greek
I did.
mythology. Yeah, I didn't at all. I was just like, wow, God is unnecessary in every way possible, right? Like I even had a friend be like, oh, you didn't look into that sort of thing at all? I'm like, well, no, because I wanted to find out what was true. I didn't care
Yeah,
as
but
much.
sometimes that can lead you to those places too, in your
Sure.
pursuit of truth.
Okay, I guess so. All right, that makes sense. I haven't really heard it that way before. It just kind of seemed like people were looking for what felt right for them instead of like what was actually true. And I guess that makes sense. That would it was looking towards what was true, but that didn't happen for me because it was a very like, I don't know, more of a scientific reason, and the science wouldn't have really comported with like mythology or Wicca or anything like that, as far as I could tell. So I just didn't really go that route, I suppose. It just went from
You
younger
just jumped
Christian.
off the God wagon altogether.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, I can't think of like a single time when that would have happened. It was gradual, which is, I don't know. Maybe that's more normal than I think it is.
Um, I suppose. I mean, I had Aaron Ra on here, and even he went through that phase too with the paganism type stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, and many people have done that, and like yourself, many have also just made a clean cut where I don't believe the supernatural shit altogether with period, which would include paganistic beliefs as well, and a lot of the new agey woo-woo bullshit that's out there, like crystal fucking healing and all that other garbage. A lot of that, people just cut it completely so that they don't end up in any fallacious belief systems. They just go straight from that sort of thing right into being a skeptic and a non-believer. And you don't even have to call yourself an atheist. I'm a skeptic and I'm a non-believer. All right. And until you can give me something that is convincing enough to change my mind, I'm going to remain that way.
Yeah, I mean, and then we can get into all sorts of definitions of what people call atheists and atheism versus secularism and all that sort of thing.
There's old world meanings, like atheists. If you claim to be an atheist, most people many years ago meant there's no God. That's what atheism literally meant at the time. But that changed over the years. It's just I just don't believe that there are gods.
Yeah,
see, atheism deals with belief, and Gnosticism deals with knowledge, right? So
yeah, and I know that the traditional like definition in like philosophy, like within philosophy circles, is that I think atheism means like actively does not believe, like actively believes God does not exist and that sort of thing. So yeah, it can get all muddled. Yeah, it can get all muddled.
God exists, believes God doesn't exist. That's the traditional original.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it becomes a definition game, and that gets messy. So I have engaged with that sort of thing before. It has happened, and I probably will continue to. But at the end of the day, it's just better to talk about the issues, and better to talk about how to get out of religion, and better to talk about why.
Stop that, Zach. Yes, they do.
Yeah, English has been around since Jesus's time. Like it's the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Yeah, Merriam-Webster's dictionary was Webster was actually one of the original 12.
And how come the Bible wasn't written in English to begin with?
Oh, I thought that's what the King James version was.
No. The ironic thing about the King James version, how the Bible says that there's no you're not allowed to be homosexual. The King James was a homosexual.
Oh, what did it even say?
No, it's just in the Bible. It says homosexuality is a sin. So, but King James was gay.
Oh, right. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, the versions of the Bible. So that private school I went to for 4 years, they were King James only. That was it. Nothing else. Has to be King James. Like why that is, I still don't know to this day. I still don't know why the King James is like the go-to. But yeah, we did.
Fuck you, Zach.
Yeah, like we did scripture memory in school and whatnot with the King James and the Old English style, and yeah, that's so I can still probably read Old English pretty well and understand what they're saying. So yeah, that's
pretty much it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. In retrospect, I can think of a couple times when I was like, is this God stuff for real, or is like this version of the God stuff for real? Like, well, this seems a little wonky, but I had a lot to cling on to, is what it came down to.
Oh, Zach's like, fuck you too, Neil. It's like, that's how atheists say we love each other. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you too. Actually, there's a joke about that. It's like when you get married, like newlyweds are all like, oh, lovey, and yada, yada. And then, middle-aged, they kind of get, oh, maybe once in a while they have sex once in a while.
Right.
And then there's like later on in the marriage, it becomes hallway sex. We'll pass each other in the hallway going, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you too.
Well, that's when you know a marriage is good, though. When you can get to that point, you still love each other, and you can yell "fuck you" in the hallway. Like that's
someone hasn't been tossed out the window yet.
Right? Yeah. Like honestly, that's a good marriage. If you guys yell "fuck you" in the hallway and you don't get divorced, maybe it's not a bad marriage. Maybe.
I was in a relationship where, you know what? I'm not going to get too much into my personal life here.
Sure. Yeah. No, fair enough.
Nobody needs to know that I used to do it in the hallway. Anyway. All right. So a couple of questions.
Of course.
When you were in the belief, didn't any of the stories sound like was there a little voice in your head at any time that was like, this can't happen?
Well, no, because God can do whatever. God just makes it happen.
Talking about the laws of physics that cannot be broken in this universe.
Once
they are, the universe ceases to exist.
According to what I was told, everything in Genesis comports very well with the laws of physics, except for
doesn't.
Well, okay, so not like spontaneous creation.
Right? Like plants before the sun.
Right. Well, like obviously spontaneous creation doesn't comport with physics, but like God just makes it happen then, right? Like God created physics, God can supersede physics. He doesn't care about physics. He can just break the rules of them. He made the rules of them.
He can't. The moment he does in this universe, it's over. The universe folds into itself.
No, because he's God. He can do whatever, and it works.
I don't care who you are. There are laws that you cannot break. And I'm not talking about. Well, actually, you can't break the speed of light. That's still true. But there are ways to go through space without having to go the speed of light. So.
Oh yeah, that's super cool stuff.
Yeah, they've actually figured. There was what's his name, Alcubierre, I think, or Alcubierre, or whatever his name was, the Alcubierre Drive. Mm-hmm. They've actually figured out how to make it work.
Yeah, in theory, yeah. Like, I mean, we're probably still a long way off from.
They're working on it right now.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I didn't actually know that. The last time
it's a recent article that I just read about.
Oh, okay, yeah. The last I saw on it was like a few years ago, and I knew that they knew how to make it work.
Came up in like 96 or something like that, or somewhere around there.
Okay.
In a vacuum. Wait, there's speed of light in my vacuum? Holy shit. Mike, I can hear Mikey right now. He's like, fuck off, Neil.
I don't know what he's talking about. My vacuum bag is totally closed off. I don't think there's any light in there.
No. Nephilim are trolls. Nephilim aren't real, charioteer.
Yeah, the young Earth creation was basically the only huge conspiracy thing that I remember. I heard other stuff, like I think I heard about Nephilim and I heard about speaking in tongues, but that wasn't really a thing at our church. I think casting out demons was. I never saw it or anything, but
all right, demon, you're out of here.
Yeah, right. But our pastor John Piper claimed to have cast out demons, at least a few times. So that was certainly a thing.
He's the Piper. Was he doing like the thing and bringing all like the rats and stuff, bringing all the demons out? No, I'm being an idiot.
No, that was really good. It took me a moment to process that because I'm like, wow, that actually made a whole lot of sense.
I'm pretty quick on with the. No, I'm not. I'm totally not quick with the brain.
And under each of the 5 holes, it's Jesus. He's using Jesus to lead them out, casting you out with Jesus. Let's get out of here. Come on, let's go to the
bar. So you were saying earlier. Oh, geez, why am I getting the echo again? That's weird. Anyways, about the camp that you went to, it was like a religious themed camp.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was, well, the camp itself, I don't remember. I think it was, well, yeah, it had to have been because it had like the big chapel there and everything. But nothing happened there that my school didn't condone. Like it was through the school, they rented it out and whatnot. But it wasn't, it was a religious themed camp, but there's a lot of stuff like that. I did that in youth group and whatnot. There's certainly non-denominationally Christian oriented summer camps in existence. It really is just sing songs and like a short sermon at the end of the day is kind of what it comes down to, but it's enough. Like it keeps, and then there's prayer circles and prayer meetings and whatnot. That's a whole other thing, but yeah, it's enough to like keep the youth interacting with each other and keeping their little keeping their confirmation bias circles tightly knit with each other and
get fit and exercise demons all at the same time.
So you can run straight back to hell.
It's just I went to camp 2 as a kid. It was called Camp Miriam. It was a Jewish camp because I was raised as a Jew. So, when I found out that my biological parents, were Christians, I think that was one of the final nails in the coffin that this God person can't possibly exist. Because if the right path is Christianity, and I was born to Christians and then given up for adoption and raised by Jews, then he did a really bad job at making that be the point.
Oh, it's kind of like, why didn't if he wanted you to be a Christian, why didn't he put you in a Christian household kind of thing?
Sure, yeah. I mean, why would he? It says he's not the author of confusion, but I was really confused when I heard that. Well, why would he do that?
Mm-hmm. God works in mysterious ways, man.
Fuck that.
Yeah, we can't
bullshit.
Yeah, look. His plan is just 240 chess, 2000 IQ for us to just possibly comprehend, and it'll all make sense in the end when we're in heaven and we can ask him why things are the way they are. Like it'll be fine.
That one's for you, from Iron Charioteer.
What would need me to get me to go back to religion? I would need evidence that God exists, and then I would need evidence that the Bible should be taken seriously as a pathway to truth. Now I know that there's a very liberal denominations out there.
There are.
But and that's great.
Oh, they have women pastors, for crying out loud, and that's not
right.
allowed.
Oh God, that was a thing. That was a whole thing. So I can't say for sure what would lead me back to religion. It would have to be fact-based. It would have to be evidence-based, and
that's for me. It's true though. I was conceived in a '57 Chevy.
Nice. I'm pretty sure I was a Father's Day baby.
Oh.
Yeah, right. The math just works out there. What were we talking about?
What it would take for you to go back.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I'll know when it happens. But I don't think that being able to say for sure what would bring me back to religion means that I'm being unreasonable. Like, it's reasonable to not believe until you are given a reason to believe.
Yep.
So not knowing isn't a cop-out, because I need to be presented with something first. And then once I am, I can parse through it to see if it's BS or not, or if it comports with reality or not. And if it doesn't, then I'm not any closer to your worldview then. And so far since becoming an atheist, nothing has really.
This is a kind of a silly question, because I have an answer for this one myself. So, Nevan, what if you prayed for a gold brick and it appeared in front of you? Would you go back?
I don't know for sure. I would have to look in. Yeah, no,
I would suddenly believe in leprechauns. Let's put it that way.
I would immediately delve into if so here's the thing. How did I rule out aliens?
Yeah, right.
How do I know aliens aren't listening to me, and they heard me do that, and then they
or underpants gnomes? How do you know they didn't drop off the gold?
Well, how do I know what? That would still be supernatural, in my opinion, most likely.
Yes.
But like, how did I know it wasn't some advanced science by aliens that just made a gold brick,
Teleportation,
use Star Trek technology to put it on my desk? Like, how did I rule that out? I can't rule that out.
Let's fuck with the Earthling.
Yeah, the answer is that probably wouldn't do it for me, because how can I determine that aliens are less likely of an explanation than God is?
There, if you pray for a gold brick to appear in front of Titan, you can remain an atheist.
That's cool. I'll do that for you, bud. After this. Yeah. I'll pray for you, get all the gold bricks and a pile of money with that. Let me know if it happens.
Mikey's like, has anyone seen my gold brick?
Yeah, the aliens took it. It was aliens, man.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
But it was aliens.
What's that? Opolopoulos guy or whatever, Georgeopoulos? I don't even know what his fucking name is. The crazy hair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. I don't remember his name. Yeah, the Ancient Aliens guy. Oh, my God. I tried watching Ancient Aliens, and it was just...
so bad.
Oh, my God. It was just... If it was aliens that did this, it would make a lot of sense, right? I'm like, I mean... I guess, but that doesn't mean it was aliens, and they just offer no evidence. There's nothing there. It's just a huge pile of what ifs, and it's like, okay, I don't care.
The evidence that they do propose is dubious at best. I mean, it's just an explanation for these things that they're finding, and it's out there.
Did you see these rocks that look like human faces from a particular angle on a particular hill in a particular sunlight? It kind of looks like a face, but that's about all you got there.
You're talking about the one on Mars?
Well, there's that one, and then there's like statues in like South America and whatnot that look like they bring up examples all over the world of that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my friend, we are just about at the hour.
Sure.
But now I'm going to bring this guy in here because I don't know if he has something he wants to ask you. But here's Mr. Mikey Famine.
How's it going, Mikey?
Up the show.
What's up? Good episode, guys. I had not so much a question, but I just want to give you a shout out for like, I'm going to youth group. Yep. See you later. My man went to the lake and was just like,
I thought about life. I did. I thought about life and what's going on. Yeah.
Fucking just said, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
I'm good right here. This works for me.
You know what? This is church. All right. This is my church now.
Yeah, it's like what's that I hear? A red-winged blackbird dancing in the reeds. A couple of bullfrogs fighting on the shoreline. It's a good day.
Oh, you fucking animals, stay away from my stash.
And I got high as shit. No, but your story kind of mirrors mine in a bunch of ways because like as soon as it was like, okay, you can drive yourself to church, and I was just like, I'm not going to do that, right? It's like, so I guess you're staying home then. I was like, bye-bye.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
See you when you get home. I'll be playing Need for Speed Underground 2. Greatest game ever.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So before we bring this to a close, I've been told, I've actually got a couple of emails from people that are like sitting on the fence that watch. They don't participate in the chat or anything like that, but they kind of tune in and they watch even sometimes after it's aired. And a lot of them say that they hear things in the show that kind of strengthen their. My phone's just going apeshit right now.
I know.
That kind of lead them to that side of the fence where atheism is the most likely outcome. So if you could give someone like that, someone that's sitting on the fence, a little word of advice, what would you tell them?
You just gotta go with what comports with reality the most, and you just gotta kind of catch me on the spot here. I'm sure I have an amazing answer for this in 20 minutes. But you just got to follow the evidence, strengthen your epistemology, and be able to rifle through what makes sense and what doesn't. That's kind of a cop-out answer, but it's just it's what I did, I guess. The long and short of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Tangelo showed up right at the end.
Oh, is that the Otangelo that calls into Atheist Experience all the time?
Yeah, but he got banned from doing that though.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay, got it.
Womp womp.
What is that? I don't know who that is. Bye.
I'm not calling you anymore. Jesus, no.
It couldn't have been you. It's a 604 area code.
Oh my goodness. My mouse is like bleeding.
So many coins.
So many coins.
We're rich tonight, man. Look at all the coins we made.
Almost enough for a gold brick.
We can melt it down and have it suddenly appear in front of you. He's real.
He does exist. They do exist.
Yeah, it was just aliens, man. Aliens with their gold brick technology. That's all it is.
Gold brick teleporters.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Well, first and foremost, Nevan, thank you very much for hanging out with me today and
yeah, you're welcome.
Sharing your story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome.
Mikey, thank you for hanging out in the back and doing the fantastic job you usually do. Thanks to everyone in the chat for hanging out with us. Hope you guys had a good time tonight. Also, I'd like to thank all my amazing patrons. You guys are awesome, and it's because of you guys that we're able to kind of stay on the air and keep doing this thing. Don't forget that Randolph and I are coming up real soon. Are going to do a show called True North Talk, and you can go ahead and subscribe to that so you don't miss the launch. And also, you can visit us on the Canadian Atheist website at www.canadianatheist.ca, and it'll actually have a link to the YouTube channel right there as well. And there's lots of fun little videos of our construction process so far on there. So anyway, don't forget that myself and this fella right down here, who's been a host as well, on the revamped and relaunched Nonprofits, which airs Sundays between Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience.
Awesome.
At about 3 p.m. Central Time. So go and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I'll be on this one coming up on Sunday. It'll be myself and X and Jenna Miu and Cynthia will be on this one. It's a lot of fun doing this one. So Otangelo's going on about stuff he has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You don't say.
He can message me on Twitter later. I'm sure we'll have a great back and forth there.
Sure. And on the last Saturday of every month, 2 p.m. Pacific time, watch Andy, Seamus, and myself. Andy has his channel Laughing in Disbelief, which states right there, and Seamus is from the Free Thought Prophets. So they're great guys, and I've been on both of their shows, and they've been on my show, et cetera, and we have a lot of fun. It's called Atheist Drinking Out Loud, and come and check us out on I think our next one will be, what's the last Saturday of March? I think it is the 30th. I think. Anyway.
27th.
27th? Okay, so the 27th one. Oh, that's right. The 30th is the Tuesday. So, all right. That's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are, we are going to do the after party. So there's a link to it below if you want to go over and check it out. I don't air that one on Facebook for all you guys watching on Facebook. I saw my cousin Robbie come and check us out on Facebook. Hi, Robbie. I see you. He's like, what's up, cuz? Seems all my cousins are popping in and saying hello. Nice
it's
to
a
see
family
you
affair.
showing up there. Yeah, it's a family affair. Do you remember that show? Did you ever see that show, Family Affair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a crazy show.
Yes.
Tazlo, you're wrong. We can exist without a creator. As a matter of fact, we do exist without a creator. So.
I'm doing it right now.
All right.
You know what? He's absolutely right. The creator cannot exist without a creator. So there's a creator for the creator, and then that creator had one too. So it's just creators all the way back to the gold constructing aliens.
Yeah, anything that begins to exist has a cause, except God.
Except God.
That's very convenient.
Because that's special pleading.
That's super convenient. That God doesn't need that.
Right.
No, Tangelo, the stars. It's because of the stars that we are here. We are made up mostly of hydrogen and carbon. So you can thank the stars for exploding. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I think I heard once. It might have been. Yeah, I don't remember who said it, or where I heard it. But water is like the second or third most common molecule in the universe because of hydrogen and oxygen. So
Yep.
Yeah. So there it is. It's
out there. It's all over the place. They found it on. Yeah. Anywho, let's get the hell out of here and get into the after party.
Got
it. All
it.
right, guys. We're gonna do just that. If you're interested in joining us, you can let either myself or Mikey know through Facebook or Twitter, and we'll send you a link, and you can jump in and hang out with us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And until then, guys, like I always say at the end of the interviews, like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.